You can start and stop paying premiums into an IUL policy as often as you like if you structure it correctly, fund it properly. So in this educational episode, I'm going to address a question I get asked an awful lot. Is IUL premium, the money you put into an IUL policy, flexible? Are you restricted to a certain dollar amount like whole life policies usually have? Absolutely not. That's why I prefer indexed universal life. I'll explain how this works next. So I'm Doug Andrew. I've been a financial strategist, retirement planning specialist now for nearly 5 decades. I'm an old geezer. I'm 70. My first pet was a dinosaur. I started in 1974. If you've watched very many educational episodes on this channel, Three Dimensional Wealth, you'll soon realize that my favorite financial instrument or vehicle to accumulate my money tax-free, then be able to access my money tax-free or turn on tax-free income to where every $1 million in my IUL policies can generate $100,000 a year of tax-free income if I live to be 120 without running out of money based on actual historical performance. If you want to learn how to do that, you ought to study a copy of this book that I'm going to gift you at the end of this episode. But let's just get back to cutting to the chase. Is it flexible? Absolutely. Now, a lot of times people ask that question because they may be familiar with whole life insurance. Whole life insurance is okay, but it was primarily designed for death benefit. And so it was built on a chassis where you have to pay a fixed amount of premium into that whole life policy for a certain time period so that the guaranteed interest rate on that will make sure that whenever you die, it's guaranteed to never lapse. Well, okay, that's okay, but it's very non-flexible. In fact, if you do not pay that amount of premium and you pay less, you go into a non-forfeiture option. And that's where the guarantees go out the window. And now you have options where you turn it into a different structure, but you no longer have the guarantees or whatever. And so that's why whole life, they tout it's a great thing, but you ask a whole life agent, hey, show me the maximum amount of income I can take out of this policy starting at age 65 if I live to be 120 years old without the policy crashing and burning based on those guarantees that you think are so important. You get that number, and I don't care what it is. Let's say it's $40,000 a year of income out of that whole life policy that has the same amount of cash value that an IUL policy has. Chances are the IUL policy will generate $60,000 or $80,000 of income to age 120. Why? Because basically, in a nutshell, some of the best whole life policies that assume an 8% dividend rate, you have to let the policy alone and not take anything out until you're age 95 before your internal rate of return is 5.9. Let's just round it up to 6. You're earning 8, but it takes you until age 95 to net 6%, cash on cash. Most agents don't even know how to calculate internal rate of return on the premiums you put into it. The premiums you put into an IUL policy allow you to take less insurance. It's cheaper, and your money will grow, and pretty soon your cash value equals or exceeds the death benefit for most of my clients in the 12th year. The cash value equals $1 million, and that was the original death benefit. As the cash value doubles every 7.5 years, the death benefit just stays ahead with it. But the net amount at risk is next to nothing because you are self-insured. Your cash value has equaled and exceeded the death benefit as soon as the 12th year into it. Whole life takes forever. What does that mean? The costs are less. So on a property structured max funded IUL, I can earn 11 and net 10 by diversifying and rebalancing the IUL indexing strategies every year, and I've averaged 11.17, netting 10.07. So I can earn 11 and net 10. Whole life, you'll be lucky to earn 8 and net 6. Other than that, I don't have any strong feelings on this subject. So don't be surprised if a whole life agent can't show you a very impressive income out of a whole life policy out to age 120, because it'll be very small compared to IUL because of this difference in rate of return, where instead of maybe generating 40,000, an IUL policy can generate 60, 70, 80,000 with the same amount of cash value, because the cost of the insurance is way less. Why do you need guarantees in a whole life when I now have guaranteed my death benefit by becoming self-insured with my cash value in the 12th year? If you don't understand this, search some other episodes on this channel, but let me get back to, is it flexible? The beauty about universal life compared to whole life requires, in order to have those guarantees they think are so important, that you pay a certain amount. You don't have the flexibility. And if you know me, I have a beatitude: blessed are the flexible, for they shall not be bent out of shape. Life is unpredictable. So let's say I'm going to set up an IUL policy and I'm 60 years old. If you do it correctly, you're doing it for living benefits. You take the least amount of insurance the IRS will let you get away with, so that the money you're going to put in will double, conservatively every 7 or 8 years. That means your rate of return is going to be, 9.6%, which is what I've averaged since 1980. So if I'm 60 years old and I have 500 grand I want to put into the policy, the minimum amount of insurance is $1 million. Yeah, I could buy way more insurance than $1 million. That's not my objective. I want the least amount of insurance. So I have $1 million of death benefit required in order for this to be totally tax-free under tax citations TEFRA and DEFRA. That's in the Internal Revenue Code, to keep the insurance tax-free as it grows under Section 72E and 7702. You can learn about that on this channel. So how flexible is this? Well, under another tax citation, TAMRA, I can't just throw in all 500 grand in one fell swoop without it causing unnecessary tax. If you fund it all in one fell swoop and you take the minimum amount of insurance, it now only grows tax deferred. If I start taking out income, it'll now be taxable LIFO, sort of like an annuity, last in, first out. I have to pay tax on all the interest I'm earning, and only when I take out the basis is that tax-free, because I've already paid tax on it. No, I want tax-free access. So you have to jump through 3 hoops, TEFRA, DEFRA, and TAMRA, in order to have tax-free access. So if I want to put in 500 grand, simply put, you can only put in about 100 to 125,000 a year. Let's just say 100 grand. So I put in 100,000. The most I can put in is 500,000. And it's going to take me 4 years and 1 day. Why? Because I put in 100 grand, let's say the first day of the first year, the first day of the second year, another 100, the first day of the third year, another 100. The 5th deposit, I can actually make 4 years and 1 day into it. So how flexible is this? If I put in 100 grand and all of a sudden I have something come up and the other 400,000 I need for some emergency, do I have to put in another 100 grand the next year? No. The actual cost of insurance is less than 10,000. So that means if I put in one payment of 100 grand, I can coast. I could coast for 10 years without adding a dime, and that policy will not lapse. If I die, it's going to pay out $1 million. Whole life will not allow you to do that. I put in 100 grand, okay? If I come up with the rest of the money in 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the road, I can put in another 100 grand, and I have another 10 years. But see, once I get 500,000 in there, oh my heavens, I'm set. Because that 500,000, based on the rate of return, will double to $1 million, and the cost of insurance is half as much as when I started, because the 500,000 now is part of the death benefit if I die. That's if you do it the smart way. The insurance company's only charging me for half the amount that they were charging me 4 years and 1 day earlier, because I have 500,000 in there. That's my own money. So they're only charging me for the remaining 500,000 if I happen to die. But the 500,000 in, 7.5 years doubles to $1 million. Now I'm self-insured. My $1 million equals the original death benefit. And it equals and exceeds that, because the $1 million can double in another 7.5 years to $2 million. It's my money. The cost of insurance is next to nothing. In fact, the only reason why there is a little tiny minuscule cost that would otherwise go out the window in income tax is because Tefra and DEFRA says, if you die, the insurance company must pay out 5% more than your cash. So if I have $2 million in there, if I die, they're going to pay out $2.1 million, $100,000 more than my cash. But they're only charging me for $100,000 of insurance. But the cost for $100,000 of insurance, even though I'm 20 years older, is dwarfed by the interest I'm earning on $2 million, which is $200,000. Is this making sense? So I love Index Universal Life because I could put in $100,000 and not put another dollar in for 10 years. I can put in another $100,000 and coast probably another 10 years. I can put in $500,000 and coast the rest of my life, never out a dime. I could put in $300,000 and probably never add another dime, but instead of earning 11, I might only net 8. If I want to earn 11 and net 10, I want to put in the most money, so it would behoove me to get in $500,000 as soon as I can. Do I have to put it in 4 years and 1 day? No, that's the fastest I can put it in. I could take 10 years to put it in. I could take 20 years. I could take 30 years. But I don't even have to put in 500. I can just put in 300,000, and that much money will probably be able to cover me for that death benefit if I live to be 120. But I might give up on internal rate of return. If I earn 11, I might only net 8 or 9. So you do what you want to do, but if you end up not having enough money to maximum fund it, just lop off the amount of insurance you don't need anymore, but make sure you do it right so that it doesn't become a MEC, a modified endowment, and all of a sudden you mess up the tax-free access. So that's why I teach sophisticated advisors and agents how to do this right so that you don't miss out. If you want to learn how to do this, frankly, if you read and study this book, you'll know more than 99.9% of agents who sell IUL. You'll know more than 100% of whole life agents who do not understand IUL, okay? So this is my 11th book. It's been flying off of our warehouse shelves, and I'll gift you a free copy. If you go to Amazon and you buy it, it's $20 plus shipping and handling. If you choose to do that, thank you. But you don't need to do that. I'll gift you a copy. But before I show you how to do that, it's actually 2 books. So you get 2 books for the price of one, so to speak. It's 300 pages, but 200 pages is this book, the left brain side with all the charts, graphs, and explanations if you're a left brain learner. If you're a right brain learner, you learn more by stories and examples. You flip it over and read this book. This is about 100 pages, 12 chapters with 62 actual client stories. If you want to use both your right brain and your left brain, then read both. But you simply go to laserfund.com or click on the link below. You contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. I require some skin in the game. Okay, there ain't no such thing as free lunch. Cover the cost of the shipping up to a certain point, and I'll cover the rest. But I'll pay for the book, and I'll fire out a hard copy to you the next day via priority mail. But while you're claiming that free copy, if you like to listen and learn or watch and learn, check out the audio and video formats. You can also register for a free webinar. We teach educational webinars on a weekly basis, but you can even schedule an appointment online to talk to an IUL specialist and have them create some illustrations with your particular set of circumstances so that you can see how it's done right. There's no cost or obligation for doing that. If you say thanks but no thanks, they're not going to bill or invoice you. Is that fair enough? But you want to make sure somebody who understands how to do this correctly creates the illustrations. That's why I have a coalition or network called IUL Insiders. There's about 1,000 IUL agents that come and they learn how to do it right. So I'd recommend, if you want to make sure your IUL is done correctly, that you have it structured by an IUL Insider. Why? Because unfortunately, you may buy an IUL from an agent who doesn't get it. They don't even understand rebalancing and diversification. You might only earn 7 over the life of the policy and only net 4. To me, that's very sad. That's unacceptable. I want you to be able to earn 11 and net 10. That is accomplished by making sure you choose an agent that understands how to do it right because they are proficient.